Good afternoon, everybody. Happy New Year to you. I've spoken to one or two of you in the chat. Hopefully, we're going to have a good New Year, good season wood turning. Several of us that are up for it. I know there's another couple that are hopefully coming on board and going to do one or two lives. You'll have to excuse me a bit today because I'm right down the far end of the workshop away from the PC. I've had to swing everything around to get cameras down onto my big lathe to put on a bigger lump of wood. And we'll be throwing a bit of 10 by 4 U in a minute. But foolishly, Monday night, I think it was, or during Wayne's, one of the last lives that was on, I said I would do a complete live or do a live on a complete project using the Skew. So I'm going to drop the camera down onto a bit
Hatful.
Yeah, I know. You can hear Mark in the background. I'll bring him forward in a minute. But no, I'll let him say hello now. And
Hello, everyone.
And then he can pick up if there's any comments in there, and then we can go silly later on. Right, Skew chisels. Those are two. That's an oval. That's a square but rounded cornered Skew. That is a traditional old-fashioned rectangular square cornered Skew. There's a slightly smaller one, running out of hands. There's another one. This one isn't mine. It's one that I've got for sale, but someone's put a really sharp angle on it. Normally we would be cutting the edge at between 10 and 15 degrees. Someone's cut that at, get used to where the camera is, cut that at 30 degrees, which would be useful for defining bits and pieces. And the one last Skew, I don't know how many people have seen one like this, but this is a round ended Skew. Very much like a shear scraper, negative rake scraper. Yeah, it's ground right the way down the middle. So it is centralized, but I use it as a scraper as well. But the beauty of this one is you can go in both ways. There's two heels to it. Both ends are a heel. The toe is the middle point. So you're cutting on the bottom half of the chisel all the time. A lot of people find it easier than trying to cut on the bottom 2/3 of a straight chisel, straight Skew. So that's the difference that we've got. I personally don't like the square rectangular section ones. The problem I find, they dig into the face, which you can't see, the face of the tool rest as they go along. If you've only got to get a little nick like I've got there, and it'll catch. With a round one, it glides straight over it. But I would say, unless you've got the American, I think it's Robust, and possibly the Australian one, that have got a hardened steel rod welded, brazed onto the top of the tool rest, you do need to keep the tool rest clean. And if you get a dink, if you get a nick, you need to put it on the belt sander or a block of wood with 80 grit on it and get rid of it, so that you've got a nice, clean, even surface to work on.
While you're setting up, Keith, I'll go through who's in the chat for you.
Right, and give me just a couple of minutes. I'm just going to point out that the difference in centres.
Okay.
That one is a ring centre with a point to it. That one is a hollow ring centre, but can be used exactly the same as that one. And the beauty of these on end grain is it won't split like a conventional point. So they're all the same, they all work the same, but you've got more strength in the ring centres. And to drive it, I've got a steb centre in the chuck because it's easier for me on this. There's a steb centre with multi-teeth. There's a conventional 4-tooth drive. Either are acceptable. You don't want to knock them in too hard. The beauty of the steb drive is that the pin in the centre pushes in, so it's not a hard drive. So the teeth around the outside pick it up. So we're using today a steb and a ring centre.
Cool.
So I'm going to have a tidy up, get rid of some tools.
Right, so we've got 4 King Owls, Andy H is for turning, Seth from Brickhouse Craftworks, John S, Mark Pritchard, Tommy's Workshop, Douglas Mungham, Brian at Hardwood Turning, Midnight Joker, hi Mike, Doug Miller at Woodspun Round. Then we've got Colin Izzard, Robert Dolman, DJ Turning, hi Terry.
Hello, Terry.
Who else? Lawrence Bergaja, Karen Dolman, Mark Pritchard, Paul Smith, Mike Hugh, I think Pete from Twisted Trees, hi Pete.
Hello, Pete. Is this too noisy, Mark?
No, you're fine, mate.
Right.
Hodgepodge Woodworks.
Hello, Hodge.
Wivey Woodshed.
Andrew.
Di Prout.
Hello, Di. Nice to have you in.
Hiya, Di. How are you, mate?
You normally miss mine.
Terry Hooper.
Ah, that's a club member. Hi, Terry.
Barry Fitch.
Hi, Barry. Another club member.
Richard from RKJ Spinning Wood.
They're all spying on me today.
Better be on your best behaviour then.
Well, that'd be awkward.
Yeah, that ain't going to happen.
No, exactly.
I think that's everybody. If I did miss you out, I do apologise.
Welcome, one and all.
The Linnykins is in. Terry
daughter.
Hooper, the Linnykins.
Yeah, daughter.
There.
Let's show you. No prejudice. Right, I've got to keep ducking around the monitor. This is the round one. It's a lot easier. Hopefully you can see it.
Yep.
Or see some of it.
Right, there was a question apparently up in the chat. All right, Seth from Brickhouse. He said, you may get to this later, but when it comes to sharpening a skew, someone once told him that it was better to treat skews like a normal chisel and sharpen them on a stone.
I always sharpen mine on the side of the wheel because it's usually flatter, because I'm on the old-fashioned stone wheels. You shouldn't use the side of a carborundum wheel because it's not safe, but I'm only touching them up usually before I start on a skew. Your diamond stone, couple of passes both sides, just to put an edge on it. That's all you need.
Right, another question for you from Mark Pritchard. Keith, where did you get your long sleeve smock, please?
This is from Wales. Have a look down my neck, Mark, see what the label says. It'll come to me. If it doesn't, I don't know whether you're an AWGB member, but if you look on the AWGB website or in their magazine, it gives you the address of the smock makers. I get the embroidery done locally, and then I can have what I like. They will put whatever you want on the smock for free, I think it is now. Oh, why is it I can't think? Right, just nick that. I'm now going to burn it. And this is a little bit of Formica, sample Formica. We've got the brewers, the decorating centres with us.
Another quick question. Does the base of the tool rest get in the way when in the middle?
The nub of it does on this one because it's very heavy. Always turn it off when you see how far that protrudes out. If I'm doing a lot, I will quite often turn the tool rest right the way around, have the lock inside at the back so that I've got a clean run. Does work. All right, just a bit of 120 just to clean that up like that. That's all we need.
Terry Hooper says the smock comes from Lovell Workwear.
That's it, Lovell Workwear. Well done, Terry. I knew someone would come up with the answer, and I knew it wasn't going to be me currently. Axminster only do short sleeve ones. Well, this is a short sleeve one in the summer because I roll the sleeves up. So it's universal. My workshop's so hot this time of year, I need sleeves. I'm leaning up against the motor on the lathe now. So that my arms and my hands free of the chuck.
Douglas Mungham asks, would that be a dibber for planting?
Spot on, Douglas. But it just goes to show that without too much ado, in a few minutes you can crank out something with a skew only. It's not my favourite beast.
I love the Skew. I don't think there's anything better for opening tins of wax than a Skew.
Exactly, yeah. As long as you've got a sharp one.
Yeah. Never try to open a tin of wax with a blunt Skew. It's pointless. Pointless.
Pointless.
Sorry. Pointless. Sorry.
Let's turn the sucker off. Keep the noise down a bit. Right. There is a dibber. That's how much was that end. It's about 1 mil. It's just pulled out.
Mark Strawton's in. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark. And there's about 1.5 mil that end, which I'll just screw off, hand sand it. What's that? A 10-minute dibber with a Skew. So cool. I can't remember who it was that asked Douglas, but I think it might have been you. So a complete project with a Skew. Right. Let's get on to the proper job now then. Take the revolving centre out. Get rid of that.
Brickhouse Craftworks. Seth, a dibber is when you're gardening, you push the dibber into the ground, drop the seeds into the hole. It's a hole maker. Makes holes in the ground. That's all it does.
For planting bulbs, or you can pull a drill out with it if you're going to do plant seeds. Right. It
was Paul Smith who asked for the Skew project.
Oh, right. Go and stand in the corner, Paul. A piece of you that I know that is Pippi, that is going to give me a bit of a fight. Maybe a big bit of a fight. But all I've got on the back is a C-ring. So, and 3 2-inch screws. Lock it on there. Get that into position where I can get at it without fighting over everything.
So just for anybody who's new to the channel, Keith, what lathe is this one then, please?
This is the Polwood Euro 1500. So it's a 2-horse, I believe, and it's fully variable speed from 2 right the way up to 2.8.
Wow.
It's the bigger one than what we've got in the museum workshop. All right, let's wake this up. See if I can get onto a better camera. Come on. You've got that one. Or you've got that one. I think this one.
That one's good.
Is going to show a bit more.
Yep, that's better.
I'm not able to pull in quite so tight as I normally do because of
right. Good view. Good view.
Where I'm sort of situated. So, going to knock this into round. So which one are we on? We're on that one. So this is a 1/2 inch English or 5/8 American bowl gouge with a long grind on it, and it's got a double bevel, my preferred. A little bit bleached out on there as well, but I do honestly need to see what I'm doing. So
it's honestly, Keith, it's fine. The picture is really good, actually.
Yeah, it looks a bit bleached out to me, but that's my metal leg just fallen over. And don't ask me what speed it is because I've got no readout on this. But I would assume
600 or
about
700.
500 at the moment. Right, handle down. through using this cut, you can see the shavings are being thrown away from me. If I'd got this square, which most of you will because you can't swing the head on your lathe, I'm fortunate that I can, you would be standing here and probably pushing into the end, or you would be doing a pull cut across the end. And all that's doing is covering me in shavings. So it's got its advantages through being able to swing the headstock. Through using this cut, the wood is coming down onto the nose of the chisel, onto a round point on the round part, so that it's not hammering it. So it's a skew cut rather than a square all in your face cut. So it's throwing it a lot further away, and it's easier on the bearings, not quite as quick. Speed to me isn't the essence of wood turning. I'm out here to enjoy myself. Got a little bit more volume into it now. And the other plus of mounting it and working like this, if it comes off, it's going that way, away from me.
Die Proud said he's been offered a 2-horsepower jet. Right money, been looked after, but am I going to wish I'd waited and gone for a 3-horsepower, given the size of wood that he has access to? I'd go for the 3-horsepower.
Purely up to you. It's not necessarily the rating of the motor. It's the construction of the headstock bearings. This one's got a taper bearing, and that bearing is 2 inches. It's much the same as you get in or on a front wheel of a car. Yeah.
Joe Senior's in. Hi, Joe.
Hello, Joe.
Mark Stroughton's asking, this may be a daft thought, but wouldn't a void make for a more interesting rim of a bowl?
Possibly, but the character is there. Excuse me. The character is just on the side there.
I think this is probably going to have enough character in it as a piece anyway, without having to worry about voids.
It was a bit iffy through there. And I've also got quite a few shakes down through there, which I'd rather get rid of than try and cut through. I don't know.
Steve Scott has joined. Hi, Steve.
This one is I never remember what the technical name for it is, but when you grows on chalk, and it can suck up the chalk in the moisture from the ground, and you get a chalk line through it. So that's always a fault line. So I've got to watch that. I've got to watch these through here, that they don't open up. That's quite a big bark inclusion. There's quite a big branch going in there. There's 4 biggish branches there. There's hundreds of pippy branches there. There's another branch around there. There's another branch. There's little branches there. There's a big branch. So I think there's going to be enough in there. It's just optimizing what is going to be good.
I'll tell you what, Keith, anybody would think that thing came off a tree, all those branches.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Douglas Mungham's got a question. Keith, is the Polewood Europe 1000 any good?
That's going to be quite an old lathe, because Polewood finished producing, as far as I know, because Terry that used to put them all together and distribute them is just down the road from us. And the guy that put them all together, Ray, just realised why it's so dusty. Turn the sucker off. Ray that put them together has retired. And he retired about 10 years ago. So as far as I know, that's a lathe that isn't very new.
Ian in the shed's in. Hi,
yeah,
Ian.
If it was a 1500 euro, not 1500. If it was the euro direct drive, I would say stay clear of it, because the bearing, like this one, is on the end of the motor. It's quite a big bearing again, but it's just a standard parallel bearing. Depends what sort of money they want for it. Was that Di asking that?
No, Douglas Mungham.
Douglas, yeah. It's not one I would rush after. One thing's for sure, it's dusty.
Ian in the shed's asking, is everyone excited for lockdown the 3rd? I've got to say personally, no, because it is really starting to get to me. And I was a messed up basket case before the lockdown the first.
I think it should have been bought in a bit earlier. If it was bought in before Christmas, we possibly would have been getting past the worst of it. There's too many people out there wanted to see family, friends for Christmas, particularly this year, that they might not see them next year as they've seen them this year. We'll pass something on.
Pete from Twisted Trees, he says, question, I am getting bounce on the apex of the curve for a shallow bowl. I know my feet are in the wrong place, but they are keeping my legs closer to the radiator.
Move the radiator, Pete.
I was just going to say, Pete, move the radiator.
Yeah, don't be such a tart.
I know how you feel, Steve.
Yeah, quite happy with that shape. I'm going to put a mortise in the bottom.
See, now, this is where you and I would differ. With those shakes, I wouldn't use a mortise. I'd use a tenon. I'd compress instead of expand.
Well, I can see that bark inclusion there finishes there. There's nothing at all in the centre. These shakes are all around the outside. There's nothing at all on that section. They come down there, which was the outside of the tree.
I'm not arguing with you because you're there and you've got the wood in front of you.
Yeah,
but as a
I can explain it. Yeah.
I would probably go for a tenon.
On a big bowl, or even on a small bowl, I much prefer to use a mortise because at least you can open into it.
Totally agree with you. So do I. Most of my bowls, I do mortises. It's just those shakes make me twitch.
Well, as long as you're twitching and I'm not.
Yep.
I'm going to have more of an issue coming in on the top. It's not going to be a thin bowl, I'm rest assured. Right. Mark up for the mortise. Left hand point only touches the wood. The other one traces where it is. Scored me mark. Go over to a smaller chisel. So I'm over on a 1/4 inch now. And as this is 4 inches deep, this bit of wood, I'm going to put a slightly deeper foot to it. So what would normally have been a 3/4 will be a 5/6. Don't have a tidy up just before a live when you want the tools that you know you've just hidden.
I do that all the time on mine. You guys are forever having to tell me where I put my tools down.
Yeah. That's the problem with having to move from one end of the workshop to the other. There it is, up where I was working last. My homemade dovetail scraper just to refine it. Come up just above centre. There's centre. It's still not full depth of what I've got there, which is the full depth of the jaws. So I'm only about 5mm. I'm happy with that. So drop the tool rest. What I'm going to do is just mark the centre and then put two rings around it so it looks like it's supposed to be there. I'll put it over the back there now so I won't lose it. Who said that? Drop the speed down. Right. Drilly's niece. It's green. It's an angle drill. Hopefully it will sand. This is so hard, this U, that it doesn't really want to. So if I'm too loud, you'll have to shout, Mark.
Okay. That's all right. Keith.
Go on.
Douglas missed your answer about the polewood.
Sorry?
Douglas missed your answer about the polewood Europe 1000.
Well, tell him to scroll back and watch it through again.
No, he had to go to a phone call because a friend of his just had a heart attack.
Okay, I'll sand this off first and I'll come back to you.
Hope your friend's okay, Douglas. Barry's in from Real Simple Things. Hello, Barry.
Hello, Barry.
Before you ask, no, he's not going to burn it.
No, I'm in the workshop, so you never see the smoke signals in France.
No, Bernie.
Just got a little bit of a mark there.
He's going to hate me. Every time he comes into a live and I'm here wearing it. No, Bernie.
Yeah.
Colory. It's you, Baz, it's you. There's going to be no colour involved.
No, I'm not going to spoil a nice bit of wood like this.
You heathen.
Right, that was 80.
I'll tell you what, Baz. I'll say it here publicly, just for you. If I can get a blowtorch between now and Monday, I will do a Bernie piece in my live Monday night. There, I've said it.
Let's see if I can...
I've never done anything with fire before, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, it's all right. See if I can get rid of some rubbish on the screen so I can actually see what I'm doing. That's better. Right. Doesn't look too bad. Right, that first one was 80. This is 120. Finish it off with a bit of 240 before we go and see the Yorkshire Git. Finish it off with that. There's some soft bits there. You can feel the indents where the drill's rubbed over it, but there's not a lot I can do about that. So that's sanded down to 240. Cellulose sanding sealer because it's quicker.
Steve Scott is calling me Mark the fire-eating chainsaw juggler. You missed out pole dancing.
Yeah, and so he's more famous for pole dancing.
Fire-eating pole dancing chainsaw juggler.
That was chestnut cellulose sanding sealer, just wiping off the excess.
Benjamin's in. Hi, Ben.
Hello, Ben. You can actually see some colour to it now.
That's gorgeous.
So,
Tommy's workshop's having to go back to work. See you later, Tommy.
tough at the bottom, Tommy.
Mark Strawden's got to go as well. Sorry, guys, got to go. Postie's arrived and brought her ladyship's pressure pot.
Uh-huh.
Keep Jennifer happy.
Yeah. Which one are we on? Is it going to...
Yep.
Just about see it. Yeah, Yorkshire grit. Right. Don't put it on too liberally, but put enough on to make it viable. So I'm just going to rub this in with the lathe off. Doesn't matter how long it sits on the surface for, the beeswax will keep it viable for a couple of days, week, I expect if necessary. So you can put it on, walk away and leave it if necessary.
David Matchett is in. He says hello from Western Australia. Hello, David.
Oh, hi, David. What's the weather like out there, David? And welcome to the channel. And I just ask everyone to, if they would be good enough to subscribe to the channel. And if you like what you're doing, perhaps give me a thumbs up. If you don't like what I'm doing, why are you still here?
Barry says, did Keith do the Skew piece? I didn't see it as the Wi-Fi let go. Yes, he did at the start. He did a dipper, all with the Skew.
It's only a 10-minute interlude on the front, Baz. So
good hearing.
You can, if you go back to the beginning and watch the first 16, 17 minutes, you'll see what I did and how I did it, and explain the various configurations of Skew chisel as well, because there's more than just the one. Oh. Right, fire up the beast, about 250, no more than that. Work it in slowly.
Robert, I was only singing it so softly so that Harry could hear it with his delicate ears.
Now, you guys can't hear it, but take it from me, this is quite quite gravelly at the moment. It's gradually getting quieter, which means the grit in the Yorkshire grit is working. It's taken it down from the 240 that I finished sanding at up to about 1,000. Right, now that's worked in, ramp the speed up, get a bit of heat into it, help melt the beeswax into the wood. Now what I'm going to do is what a lot of you guys can't. I'm going to give it a quick rub with the lathe in reverse.
Ooh, get you with your reversing lathe.
Well, that's part of the reasons I wanted it.
Tony the taxi's here. Hello, Tony
Hello,
the taxi.
Tony. Yeah, another West Sussex wood turner. This is how you should have come up, mate, that you picked up from me, or could have come up if you'd have worked it hard enough. So just going to rub this lot in. What I'm looking for is nothing finishing up on the paper. I know I've got rid of it all and it's all done its job, and we can put some finish on whatever we want. Seeing there's a little bit of an inclusion, I'm going to need another bit of paper to finish it off. I'm looking for nothing on the paper, and again I will get nothing on the paper this way, just a smidgen on there, and I'll go back into forward.
Terry's having to pop off. His 93-year-old mum needs some looking after. See you later, Terry.
Cheers, Terry. Thanks for popping in, mate.
Hope your mum's all right. Give her our best.
Right, that's come off clean.
Oh, SK Grass is in. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve. Hopefully you're better today.
How you feeling, mate?
Yeah. Come over to see if I can go through the bottom. I want you to feel left out on this, mate. Right. It's not too bad. Could do with something to pick it out because I've got a little bit of paper. Yeah, there's quite a lot of paper picked up in these cracks.
I did see a question, Barry, but I thought you were being funny, but I will ask it. Keith, Wayne's big lathe is called a VB for very big.
Yeah.
What's the nickname of your big lathe then?
Hasn't got one. It's just the Euro Millions.
Euro Millions. The UM.
Yeah. I'm not going to wax this. I'm going to get a brush or something and pick this out later on. I don't want to wax over top of paper. So I'm going to swing it round and remount it, and we can get on with scooping the middle out. So as normal, I'm just going to put that on there. Open the drawers just to it. Hold one and rotate the other, and for me it's easier to hold the bowl and pull the chuck round with the key. All I'm doing is just cleaning out the inside of the recess I cut before I finally tighten it up. Not necessary, but it's good practice. If you get a little bit of fluff end grain that's a little bit torn, it's easier to ream it out with something the right size, and we know the jaws are going to be the right size, so I do it that way. And I've had one or two beginners in the workshop down at Amberley that have had a little bit of an issue getting the proper angle, so it's been more straight, so the jaws haven't opened up into it, and it's got a good wobble on it as you fire it up, which we don't want. So just a little hint before everyone disappears. Rutland's tools have on offer at the moment a 75mm chuck in 6 thread sizes with 5 sets of jaws and a screw center at £460. The part number, if anyone's interested, is R2510. It came up this morning on mine. They're good chucks. The 4-inch that I've got and I generally use, this one, that's the 4-inch, has given me no problems whatsoever over the 4 years I've had it, maybe 5. But a useful little chuck. 3-inch chuck, you can get a good 6-8-inch bowl blank in there, depending on which jaws you set in there as well.
You don't need chucks. I proved that last night.
No, you don't need chucks, but just that much easier. Right, that's running nice and true. Don't need to go silly. That's about 800, maybe 1,000. These first cuts are the worst ones. You're better off if you can go in from the edge rather than come out from the centre off of the edge. You've got less chance of getting a tear out.
Barry's asking, Keith, was it the F jaws you recommend for smaller bowls?
F jaws, yes. Yeah, F jaws and faceplate ring. That's the faceplate ring. That's the difference between that's a C and that's an F. So this will I think it's 38mm mortise you want in that one, as against 52, correct me if I'm wrong, for the A. Plus, if you've only got a small foot on, or a small blank, you don't want a 2-inch foot on it unless you put a spigot on it, and that means you've got to turn it off afterwards. So there's several thoughts on it. I spoke to a club member just before Christmas, and he said, what jaws are you using? So I told him the F jaws, and he said, cool, they're not bad. He uses the C jaws, this size. But he said it's basically too big a jaw for the wood blank. I said, yeah, I know.
Big news, big news. Sorry, news just in. It's Robert Dolman's birthday today. He's 65 today.
Oh, mere boy.
Happy birthday,
Robert. Yeah. What have you bought us? What are you treating us to? Cakes? Cakes or donuts? I wouldn't suggest posting them at the moment.
No.
Because I believe the posties are working such long hours that they're sampling things as well.
Robert Goldman says, please pay no attention to this. It's an unfounded rumor. He's just thrown a cushion at Karen, I bet. Back in a sec, Keith.
Yep.
Somebody's at my door.
I could hear something. I thought it was me going up. Right. As I've said before, I leave my centre ring on as an insurance. If you should inadvertently go in or go out on the edge and get a catch, you can throw the blank out of kilter. With that still on there until I'm down a bit, I've got something now I can put the bevel against to rub it and take a cut. So I've given myself insurance that if I did do anything stupid, like get a big catch and throw it off, I can still turn it round, re-true or recut the bottom mortise. So for beginners, I think it's a good idea. I think it's quite good practice. I used to use the screw in a hole. The problem with that is if you get a catch and you've got to remount it, it's all over the place, although it's the same hole. So just my little insurance premium. So now that's as far as I can go. I can get rid of my insurance. Only on by 3 screws, but they were 2-inch long. 2-inch 10s. And not drywall screws. Because they're too brittle. And if you're going to get a break, you're going to get a break on a drywall screw. Right. Still get to the lathe. I think we'll go for a sharp chisel now.
Right, sorry about that. I'm back now.
You're back, right. I've only just explained why I leave the faceplate ring on until such times as I get down a bit deeper. Throwing it at me. That's better. I'm not breathing it now. Oh, this is hard, this bit in the middle here. don't know whether you got, yeah, you can see it on the camera. How shiny that is around there where it's been, where it's hard. While we're stopped, there's that chalk inclusion is there. There's a small one through there, but the rest looks pretty good. Work the way down. Taking the edge off of that chisel already. That side of it off. Whose idea was it to put a 4-inch blank on here, Mark?
That'll be you.
Oh, right, okay. Why did I suggest that?
Mark Pritchard's had to go back to work. See you later, Mark.
Cheers, Mark. Thanks all you guys for stopping by. Quite a few of you retired, I believe. So I can give you some lunchtime entertainment. There's only drivel on the telly at the moment. Doom and gloom. What have I got that's sharp? better. Something with a bit more mass in it. She's only got a 2-foot handle on this one. It's a 3/4 inch bowl gouge. But as it's got so much mass, it's not bouncing. Not something I would use for a final cut, but how many have we had in, Mark? Any idea?
Over 40 at one point.
Oh, jolly good. Well done, guys. Thank you. Won't believe this, but I've just seen Rob's little vase that he turned, little winged pot, 2 shavings.
It's all getting a bit small.
Is that too big, that sawdust?
Mole Valley Makers in. Hi, Mole.
Hi, Mole. There's the bark inclusion that we could see on the outside. That's the really hard bit just there, where I've got a lot of tear out, but that's a branch coming in or out of the bowl there, so it's to be expected. The rest of it isn't looking too shabby, apart from needs a good couple of finishing cuts on it. But, through using the big beast of a tool, it's taken the bounce out, and I've got a far more balanced cut.
Pete says, how come Chestnut and Lebron's sanding sealers need decanting and thinning, come in easy to open containers, and Hampshire Sheen pre-thinned comes in a tin that the lid sticks on? That's called Sod's Law.
Yeah, yeah. Mind you, Pete, I always decant my finishes out like that, the sanding sealers. I find it's easier because I use the shellac and water it down or thin it down 50% with meths. So I always put mine into a plastic topped bottle. But the trick on that is when you, particularly with the meths, it's not too bad. It's not quite as doesn't evaporate as quick as what cellulose does. But I still put the lid on tight and unscrew it a quarter of a turn so that I can hopefully get into it if I don't touch it for 3 or 4 days. That's not too shabby for just shy of an hour. Readjust. See if I can get the tool rest inside a bit. Get a little bit closer to the action. Yep.
Seth asks, does anybody here use a bottom bowl gouge? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I've got one. I've got a bottom feeder that I use.
Don't really need it. Yeah, don't really need it on this one. It's a fairly flat angle I've got it ground at, and it's not a small bowl that I'm likely to have an issue with anyway.
I have one that's ground at 65 degrees. Brilliant for the bottom thirds of the bowl.
Yeah, I think that's what. No, it's not that one. There's one here somewhere that's ground about the same. Yeah, that one.
Takes some getting used to, not swinging the handle round the bottom.
Yeah.
Because you have to keep the handle almost parallel with the bedways as you go across.
Well, you should keep the handle so that the bevel rubs anyway, so it'll be square. So
yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, with this one, I can't get that one in there even. But with this one, I've got to start there, and I've got to come around here, and I'm 90 degrees movement of the body.
Yep.
You start at that angle.
With the bottom feeder, you're almost in line with the bedways, aren't you?
Yeah, but you start your cut about there.
Yeah, a little bit further across. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think there's much more I can do with that one. So park it on the floor. Freshly ground. They're all the same angle. I don't want it to block up my extractor. So that's a trip next door into the garage to service it. Not too bad at all. About 3/4 of an inch in the bottom. Maybe I can get a fraction more out. I've just got a little bit of a ridge here that I need to address. If you don't feel safe doing this, don't do it. Safety in the workshop is down to you. We can only advise, show you what we do, but you don't have to try and emulate what we're doing. I've been turning for 30 years, more prolific in the last 10. Some of you are newbies. We can tell you, show you what to do, but what you actually do, only you've got control on.
Brian's asking me what size gouge did I turn into the bottom feeder. It's my Simon Hope 1/2 inch crown cryo gouge. Got one end on my normal 50 degree sweatback grind, and the other end I've turned into 65 degree bottom feeder grind.
Where did I put it, Mark? You saw me put it down just now.
It's over there.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, not there.
Right.
There it is.
Yeah, you're right. It was underneath my hand. Right, I'm going to use the round skew as a negative rake scraper across the bottom there. I've got a funny bit of grain in there. Doesn't really want to play ball, so the problem is to get rid of it, I need a little bit more speed on the lathe. But I'm not happy putting much more than what I've got on the size of blank that I've got in there. That's better, getting better. You can just hear that bouncing over. I don't know whether you guys can. Well, that's got rid of that nasty tear cut that was around that piece, which is where the branch is. I've just got a little ridge just in the rim there that I'm going to see if I can take out. I've tipped it on its side, 45 degrees, I can use that as a slightly less aggressive, and then we've got a double bevel on there just to pick up the cutting edge. Whether you can see the dust on the back of my hand, it's not much more than hair size. Very fine. So by taking it out of the flat and putting it at the 45 degrees gives you another cutting tool. Just a little bit down there, and then we're good to hit the 80 grit. That's a real nice piece of wood. Bloody monitor. Who put it there? Right, find the 80. I'm not talking to myself yet, Mark, am I? Still got some visitors out there?
Oh yeah, they're still there watching.
Good. So 3-inch pad, go to 80 to start with. Put that back, so that's better.
Coming up to an hour and a half, but
That's not bad. Oh, that's from the very beginning, though, isn't it?
yeah.
I was 17 minutes in before I started this. Not quite as speedy as Wayne, but I'm not in it as it's not a race. I've just got a little bit of crap there.
Lawrence Bagage has asked, what's the speed of that angle grinder, please?
Fully variable, but I would think it says 5, so I would think that is about 1,800 to 1,000. I did have the readout for it, but 15 odd years old, so don't expect me to find that now.
Doug Miller's having to shoot off to work. Bye, Doug.
Bye, Dan. That's 120. Finish it off with 240. Just on the end grain. A couple of little bits. Go back a grit rather than trying to burn it off. Go back to 120 just there. You can't see it, but there's a slight mark just there, which is right on the end grain. Let's fix that bit. And then on the end grain just here, it's funny how you can't see the odd line scratch until you get to the last grit. You think I'd remember that monitor's there. Right.
Andy H is returning, set to go.
Hi Andy, thanks for coming in, mate. I'll give you a shout one evening, or you can give me a shout, and we can talk about how you need to go further and what you really need to do as well, if you like. Happy with that, Mark?
That looks great.
Kill the canopy. Just cellulose. Don't hold it and show the camera the wrong bit. Cellulose from chestnut. Right. Happy with that. Turn that off. Oh, I can see now. My glasses are covered in dust. Right. We'll go for Yorkie grit.
Lawrence Bergager says, Keith, sometimes I find it difficult to take off the hairlines. What is the best way to do it? Thanks for the reply.
When you say hairlines, Lawrence, what?
I think you might mean the sanding marks.
Sanding marks. Probably if you're getting a lot of concentric rings on whatever you're sanding, it's probably because you're overusing or over pressing the abrasive paper. If you try and use paper past its sell-by date, and a lot of people try to, and we all think when we first start that a worn-out bit of 80 is equivalent to a new piece of 120. It's not. All the cutting edges go, so it will never work the same as going to the correct grit. And on the same score, if you press too hard with a worn out piece of paper, you will then introduce lines rather than take them away. So without actually seeing what you're saying or getting confirmation as to what we're talking about, I would think it's probably because you've sod it. I'm not going to throw that bit of paper away. It's still got some grit on it. Wrong attitude for a decent piece of wood. It's okay if it's a scabby old bit of pine that you're not too concerned about. You're going to paint over the top, but something you want to get a high finish to, you do need a decent quality paper as well. So don't go into B&Q and buy their 12-inch squares of Oakley sanding paper or sandpaper, because we always used to. It's not man enough to cut at the speed that the wood goes past it on a lathe. So what I'm doing there, I've turned the lathe on about 200, 250.
Ben Jamin got a fair point. He says, spend 12 quid on a bowl blank, but I reckon I can get another usage from this 5p bit of sandpaper. Yeah, all same. And then Hodge says, do you replace sandpaper after each bowl? Yes.
No, not necessarily.
I do.
I'll sometimes put the second piece on to finish the bowl, particularly a piece like this.
I'll use the 3 grits on the inside. I'll use the same 3 pieces on the outside, but I won't use them for a second bowl. Once I've used them inside, outside, they're done.
Yeah.
Thrown away.
Not gonna.
And then Seth says, best advice he's heard on sandpaper was use it like somebody else is paying for it. That's true.
Exactly. That's a bit of 80 that I've used inside and outside. That's the only good piece of that is about an inch diameter in the middle of a 3-inch square. And that's the 120, and that's about the same. You can see, or I can see, where it's taken off the grit. So both of those will get changed. But this has been quite a hard old piece of wood to sand. I'm not the only one to say that, because Wayne had a piece of it. It is the same tree that big burr that he turned last August, July, August time, maybe September, and had a fight with it throughout on his big VB.
Pete's got a question.
Go on, Pete. Or Mark.
Lots of timber has grey smudge patterns in the grain from mineral deposits. How do you get rid of these?
I don't think you can.
Burn it, colour it,
stain it. I'll say, depending what the timber is, holly and the light woods are the worst for that.
Sycamore does as well sometimes.
Yeah, sycamore or beech. Now, I'm going over this to get rid of all of the Yorkie grit. I keep on moving it. I want to find a clean piece of paper coming off of here in a minute.
Pete, I'd say burn, stain, or paint. It's your only option. If it's through mineral deposits, it's been sucked up into the tree, so it's within the wood itself. You're never going to get rid of them.
No, even staining it, you're still going to. That's still going to come through in the final colour, the final polish up. So it's almost do I bother to turn it or do I put it straight on the wood burner situation that you're in there. If you find out the answer, share it. Beech can be a funny one like that, particularly spalted beech or sporting beech, because you get the fungus colour in it as well, and that can pick up and transfer through. I think, apart from waxing it, like I said, I don't want to wax the outside because there's got paper stuck in there. Still getting a little bit of Yorkie grit coming off on the paper, so I'll give it another quick wipe over. Needs to be clean, the paper, so you know you've got rid of the whole lot. That's better, that's clean. So, there we are, guys and girls. Hour and a half. Sorry it took a bit longer.
Beautiful.
It's getting it in a light so that it reflects, and that's just Yorkshire grit without any wax on it. But, all these lines down here have got to be picked out where the paper's torn in there and shredded in there. You've got inclusions here.
So, Pete, sorry, Pete. Pete says he was hoping somebody would give him an obvious answer that has eluded him. Seems to be the bits with the best grain pattern too. Sorry, can't help, really.
No. It's always the good bits that have got you've got issues with, Pete. Right, let's do.
Ebonizing liquid.
Yeah. Camera mic. Let's go on that one. Let's bring me back in. Scary to start with. You can see how I've got to work this. I've got to stand in the middle of the workshop and go down the other end to get the mouse to pick up. Right, let's bring Mark back in. Go on.
Oh Lord, I better put my clothes back on.
Oh, I was just going to say, make sure you're dressed, Mark. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. There we are. So, thanks, guys, for coming in.
It's really nice.
A 10 by 4.
That's it.
You. Very pippy, you. Just round here.
Now I'm going to ask the controversial question that everybody else is thinking of. If you cover that with a food safe finish, would you say it's safe for food, being that it's made of yew?
I would leave that down to the prospective customer that it's been finished with a food safe oil finish. Whether you use it to put fruit and vegetables or a salad in, whatever, is up to you. A lot of my bowls that I sell as fruit bowls, I tend to say to the customer, cut a disc or cut a square of cling film, lay that in the bottom. If you get some overripe fruit and overnight it ripens completely and you've got then a squidgy, horrible, gloopy mess, through having the cling film in the bottom of the bowl will save the finish on the bowl. So
Yeah.
I would say it's down to the salesman as to how they promote and sell the bowl, but offer it as either. There is a specific food safe finish on it. It's up to you whether you put food in it.
Yeah.
If you're going to put vegetables in, some fruit in, specifically something like bananas that ripen overnight, you can get a pappy mess in the morning if you're not careful.
Yeah.
And the time you realise that it's well and truly overripe, the acid in the fruit has etched the surface of all the finish off of it. So just give it to the customer and say, look, it can be. It's up to you. Personally, I wouldn't, but if you're going to, line it.
And Douglas has just reminded me, the Polwood Euro
Polwood.
1000 question.
I think, is that the EV or DVLR, DVSL, direct variable speed lathe? If that's that one, I would say steer clear of it or get it at a very good price. The bearings aren't the most simple to get out. Bearings on this one, it's exactly the same, but the motor is a bit lighter and a bit smaller. This is a 1.5 or 2 horse motor on the end. The DVSL has got the motor on the end. There's no gearbox because it's a direct drive. You've got the two bearings in here, one on the nose and one at the tail of it. The one on the nose is about 2.25, and the one at the back is about 1.5 inches. The one on the nose is not the easiest one to get out. One on the tail is quite reasonable. It's up to you, but they're not worth
He
a
says
lot of money.
at the moment it's £100 on eBay.
Well, at £100, I'd go for it because if it is that DSVL direct DVSL. There's 4 letters to it, and that's all I know. Make sure the controller works, because the controller on that one, it's got a remote to it. Not like this, because I've superseded mine with the variable speed from the guy up in Yorkshire somewhere. But I've got you get a plastic pad like that gives you the speed and reverse. So it's a 3-phase motor on it. So it's got the reverse on it. It's pretty good. I believe it's 40 inches between centres. So it's quite a long one. Depends what the bed was made up with. You don't need it on legs. It did come as a legged kit, but the legs were optional. Not a bad unit, but not worth a lot of money. It's got to be in excess of, I would say, probably 15 years old. So the choice is yours, Douglas. Yeah, it is a direct drive, exactly like this one. I know where there's 3. One I've had a bit of an issue with. The other, another one has had issues. The third one hasn't had a lot of use, and there's not been a lot of issues on that one. They're not bad units.
Douglas, is it the one that's on eBay that's in Chester? Because if it is, it's the Euro 1000. It looks a
Yeah,
bit like yours.
yeah, they're all the same. They were all blue. They all had the same colour paint on them.
No, I meant in respect to the motor is in line with the spindle.
Yeah, yeah,
It's got a control box with a dial,
yep,
flat bedways.
yep. Steel bedways rather than cast. The whole thing was made, apart from the tailstock casting, banjo casting, the motor, and the headstock casting. So you got the 3 separate castings, or 4 separate castings were bought in, and Ray made whatever length bed the customer was after. He actually cut my 40-inch one down to 30, 32 because it
Keith, I
didn't
don't
look.
know if you can you see my screen? It's that one.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, nothing wrong with it. It's got a bluey grey control box, is it?
Blue, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. For £100, providing it's running, it's all right. And if the control does pack up, you've only got to go to wherever it is now, and you can pick up the big Varicon for it and put it on. It's only 3 wires to the motor. Simple little job. Depends
Cool.
how it's been abused or whether it's been used much.
Good, good. Nobody else has any questions?
I recommend it. Brickhouse, the electric one. I'm not quite sure what that refers to. Looks
Well,
like a direct
him and
drive.
Hodge have been talking about,
Yeah, rabbiting on something. Drills, is it?
yeah, drills
Yeah,
and sanding abrasives and
yeah, yeah. Because Hodge is moaning because Seth's making him buy stuff.
yeah.
That's the name of the baby that we're working with. So if you guys are happy, you've got no more questions, I will pick out the crap and crud that's buried itself in the open grain bits and pieces, and then give it a good wax. Whether that gets done today or tomorrow, might not even be till Thursday because I've got quite a bit on tomorrow, which is why I couldn't do a live tomorrow, which is what I said originally I would do. So tomorrow you've got Brian coming on at 2 o'clock to do a live. Brian at what's the rest of his channel name, Mark?
Brian at Hotwood Turning.
Artwood Turning, yeah. So he's on at 2 o'clock tomorrow. Wayne's on tomorrow night at 8.
Beard 16's on tonight at 8.
Right. There's 1 or 2 around, but as long as you've enjoyed what I've done, if you haven't, you've hit the thumbs down. That's fine with me. I enjoy doing this. Otherwise, I wouldn't sit here and do it, and Mark wouldn't sit there half asleep talking to me and keeping me informed.
Half asleep. Fully awake.
Fully awake at the moment. Okay.
I'm monitoring 3 screens here for you.
Yeah.
Don't forget.
Yeah. And I'm monitoring this one. I can still whack my bloody head on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll have to look at the calendar. It will probably be Tuesday to next week, like I said originally. I would do every Tuesday, but I've had one of those awkward sessions at the moment.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Karen.
So, if everyone is happy, no more questions, I'm going to hit the proverbial button.
Good.
I can make it work. So we're all going to go to sleep, have a cup
So
of coffee.
I gotta go to the shops.
Yeah. Thanks, guys,
Yeah.
for sticking with us for an hour and 52. Come on. That's it. It's so cold down here now. So I'm going to end the broadcast now. Cheers, guys. I'll ping it up on the medias as to when I'm doing next week. And we'll catch you all then. Thanks very much and Happy New Year to you.
Bye, everybody.